at the first stage of the process, where I'm joined with Aaron, who is one of our production technicians, who is in charge of making sure the water quality maintains its consistently good standard throughout the process. So Aaron, what stage are we at?
Hi Joe, you joined me here today at the inlet to the works. This is where this dirty, horrible water begins its journey in becoming clean and safe drinking water for the public. Here the water comes in from two sources, blends together. We then monitor this water on its way in to check its pH levels, its turbidity, which is how dirty the water is. From there, we move forward where we remove solids out of the water, things like twigs, branches, leaves, and even fish that make their way down the pipe to the works. So after the screening process, this is where we begin to introduce chemicals. So the chemicals we introduce here are sulfuric acid at 96% strength, and then an aluminium sulfate for coagulation. The coagulation is where the dirty particles in the water bind together for us to create a solid mass for us to remove further in the process.
Here to talk us through the next stage is Hannah, who is our process scientist. So Hannah, could you tell me more about after the treatment of the chemicals?
Yeah, so after the coagulant is dosed, the water enters the flocculation chambers, which are over here, where it's slowly stirred, causing the particles that have come out of solution to collide together and form flocks.
What happens next?
So after that, the water enters the dissolved air flotation tank, known as the DAF, and here it's mixed with clean water, which is saturated with air, which when it's mixed releases tiny air bubbles which form on the flock and reduce its density, which means it floats to the surface of the tank and forms a sludge blanket, and this is scraped off of the top of the water periodically by a mechanical arm, and the clean water flows off underneath the sludge blanket and onto the next stage of the treatment process.
We're now in the main treatment building where I'm with Tom, who is our production manager. So Tom, what next?
So the water comes from the DAF, where we dose chlorine and we dose lime, and then it goes down through the rapid gravity sand filters on this site, which are a layer of anthracite and a layer of graded 1630 sand. So the water has to percolate down through both of those layers. And what happens is the particles within the water actually capture between each of those granules. So the water has to take quite a tortuous path, and in the process it removes the remaining solids from the water.
Okay, and why do we use chlorine and lime at the start?
So we use chlorine and lime predominantly to target one particular contaminant, and that contaminant is manganese. So what we're trying to do is make the manganese into a solid form that we can actually filter out on the grades of media as it goes down through, making it a cleaner product for the next stage in the process.
Now in the filtration stage, which is the final step of the process, I'm joined with scientist Jürgen, who's going to tell us a little bit more. So Jürgen, what is involved in this final process?
So now we've removed all the large particles in the rapid gravity filters that we've just seen. The water is now crystal clear, but we still have compounds in the water that we don't want to have them. Things like pesticides and taste and odour causing compounds. So we remove those in the filters you see behind you, where we have activated carbon. It's granulated, so it's a few millimeters in diameter. This carbon has a very high surface area, so what you see in my hand is a surface area of about 1,000 square meters. So it's designed to remove pesticides, and it's also designed to remove colour-causing compounds. So sometimes the water can have a little brown or golden colour. We can remove that in this polishing step.
Great, so after you've removed stuff that we necessarily can't see, like pesticides, what quality is the drinking water at now? What is the next stage?
Now it's nearly at the drinking water quality we want to have the customers to experience, but we do need to make sure that there's no pathogens, bacteria for instance, that are left in the water. So the final step of the treatment is disinfection with chlorine. So we dose chlorine that goes into the contact tanks, which is the concrete structure behind us. It's there for a certain amount of time to make sure that all the bacteria is killed off that we don't want to have in the water. Then it goes out into the storage reservoirs, the service reservoirs, and then it's pumped out into the customer's taps.
Ready to drink.
Ready to drink.
So here we are at the end of the treatment process, where our final treated water is ready to go out to our distribution network, where we've turned this into this.